I'm continuing my series on the previous encounters between Magnus Carlsen and Ian Nepomniachtchi in the run-up to their World Championship match, which starts in Dubai on the 26th of November. Not long to go now. In a moment, I'm going to show you a really complex game that ends in a very surprising attack. This is a really wonderful game. Before then, let me just tell you about the discount day at ChessBase. So I'm recording this on the 16th of November. I had to check the date, the 16th of November. And for 24 hours, there is 25% off all products at the ChessBase online shop. 25% off for 24 hours. Now, that means you can get my PowerPlay DVD or download series at 25% discount. If you're interested in openings, middle games, end games, strategy, calculation, anti-Sicilians, the Najdorf, the Queen's Gambit, the King's Gambit, and so much more, then do check out my PowerPlay series. People that buy them really like them. Check out the reviews. I'm really proud of this series. If you're looking for really great instruction, then do check it out. Remember, for 24 hours, 25% off at the ChessBase online shop. Right, enough of that. Let's get to this game. Magnus Carlsen playing white against Ian Nepomniachtchi playing black. This was played in the Legends of Chess preliminary tournament. So it's rapid play, and this was played on the 28th of July 2020. So basically, we've moved into the last couple of years, the pandemic years, where chess went online. So this is an online game. And I've already recorded some videos looking at some of their games. Do check out the whole playlist. You'll find a link up there in the info tab or down there in the video description. So it's a Grunfeld. Now the Grunfeld is a great favourite of Nepo's. A really sharp opening system, incredibly complex. And let's see what Carlsen does against it. Well, Carlsen has played a whole range of things against the Grunfeld. But it's interesting that in this game, he goes for one of the main lines. So that's quite a brave decision. And he goes for rook b1. You can play bishop e3. You can do all kinds of things there. But rook b1 is a very, very interesting move. And there are sort of extremely long and complex variations that have been played out in theory in previous games. So b6 is a move here, but Nepo goes for one of the main lines, taking on d4, checking on a5, and queen takes a2. Now this adventure with the queen looks absolutely crazy. Black, for a few moments, just ignores development and goes on this mad attack with the queen. It's really risky, it's obvious. White is going to gain time against the queen. But black at least has castled, and these pieces can come into the game pretty quickly. And yeah, there's also pressure against white's beautiful centre. Here bishop g5 is the most common move. There's a really interesting line after bishop g5. I mean, this is very interesting move to not to bother developing the rook, but just to push this pawn. It's really dangerous. Anyway, there's all kinds of exciting things there. But Carlsen goes for bishop e3, slightly less common than bishop g5. Now, he's obviously very well prepared here. They're actually following, well, many games, but, Nepo has played like this as black previously. So this knight does come into the game. I always find the Grunfeld a slightly odd opening. This knight often ends up on a5. Now, is that knight good or bad at a5? Sometimes it's very nice, holding everything together, blocking. It's protected by the pawn on b6 often. Can sometimes swing into c4, but sometimes he gets sidelined. So which will it be in this game? Nepo has previously faced rook e1 in this position. So bishop g5 by Carlsen. Well, it seems clear that Carlsen knew what he was doing here. Attacking the e-pawn. And now rook e1. And here, well, Nepo had played this previously in a game, Wesley So against Nepomniachtchi, Jerusalem 2019. So a serious classical game, I think the FIDE Grand Prix tournament, which went like this. Bishop takes, queen d6, and actually the whole thing liquidated to a draw very quickly. Even this is slightly complicated, but basically this ended up as a draw after a sort of mass exchange of pieces here. They agreed to draw in this position. But there are ways for white to keep the tension there. I'm sure Magnus was prepared. Stockfish, for example, recommends rook d1 here. That's a very tense situation. But interesting that Nepo was the first to deviate from that game. And he played bishop c3. That's a very unusual move. To me, not a very human move. It looks slightly odd to put the bishop on a square where it's not protected by a pawn, for example. Yeah, I mean, of course, if the rook has to go back, then black has achieved something, but no. Carlsen goes queen d3 here. In fact, my computer thinks that knight d4 is even stronger, which looks incredibly dangerous, white's pieces. But anyway, Carlsen went queen d3, pinning, rook c8, and now rook d1. It just looks a little bit odd, this bishop on c3 with this pin. You know, black's pieces need kind of straightening out. It's not a very stable square on c3. b6, so that gives black a little bit of stability at least, protecting the knight on a5. So, you know, rook a1 doesn't have to be, is not a concern here. h3, putting the question to the bishop. Looks safest to exchange here and to put the queen back on d6. Let's just see that. I mean, certainly white has compensation there in the form of the centre and the bishops, but, you know, that's still in the balance. Anyway, bishop d7 played. Rook dc1, a little bit of pressure here. And now, well, Nepo plays f6. This move has consequences. Let's see. Bishop d2, exploiting the pin. Bishop b2, so no material lost. Rook takes, rook takes. And now I suspect that Nepo had overlooked this next move of Magnus. It feels as though black has kind of stabilized the position. I can imagine when Nepo was looking at this position a few moves before, he thought, well, I've exchanged pieces. Bishop doesn't seem to be in trouble. This looks pretty stable. The rook's, you know, got to an open file. But this move, going left field, quite literally, is incredibly strong. And it just somehow exploits the lack of coordination between rook and queen. And the queen has to protect that bishop. It's like a slow motion attack. Basically, white wants to take here and then turn towards the king side. And there's not a lot that black can do about that. For example, rook c7 is the obvious move to protect this pawn. Bishop f4 hits the rook. Rook b7. And just watch. Bishop b5. Basically, you know, white is crawling in here. Bishop takes bishop, queen takes. Well, let's just see what happens there. You can see the bishop is attacked, and suddenly there's a queen that can come down here, and this is extremely nasty for black. So let's come back. So here, queen a2. This isn't the game, but let me just show you this. And I mean, this is an absolutely crushing position for white. Obviously, rook takes bishop and queen c8 check. It's tremendous. So let's come back. So queen a6 has just been played. So what did Nepo do? Queen a2. But now Carlsen just played very simple exchange sacrifice and took on a7. It's remarkable that black is unable to defend the position here. It feels like there should be something, but black is absolutely defenseless here. Obviously, if the bishop moves, then queen takes, and the queen has got through to the king side. You can see that pawn move f6 exposes the king along the second rank, or the 7th rank, depending on which way you're looking at it. If rook d8, then queen c7 hits the rook. You see that queen, it just isn't connected. You know, if the queen could magically appear on b8, for example, you know, or a8 or something, it would be different. But queen c7 just completely undoes black. So queen a1 check played. And now queen a4, so hoping just to hold things together. And now just a very simple move from white that just completely undoes black. And that's bishop d1, and that just breaks the defense. If the queen moves, trying to defend this, then knight d4 just upsets the defense again. So queen takes bishop played, queen takes bishop. Queen comes in, hits the rook, hits this pawn. Queen c2, and now queen e6, king h8. Still time to go wrong here. For example, if queen takes pawn, whoops, queen c7 is check. So that would force an exchange of queens, and that would be very good for black. But instead, Carlsen has a simple move that just breaks up black's kingside, d6. So that d pawn, so often the cause of problems in the Grunfeld. d6 takes, queen takes pawn, and bishop h6, basically white has broken through to the king. The queen comes back, but it's all in vain. Queen e6 check. If queen f7, then the rook drops, king h8, and now knight to g5, and that is the end of the game. There is absolutely no defense to the attack. So, for example, if knight c6, knight check. Let's just go to the end. Check here and mate on the back rank. Wow. What a swift end to the game. You know, I can imagine that Nepo, particularly this is a rapid play game, just had completely underestimated the move queen a6, assumed there would be some kind of defense here, but wow. What a move, what an attack. Let me just say one thing about this opening. The Grunfeld. I just have a funny feeling we won't be seeing a Grunfeld in the World Championship match. No doubt that's the commentator's curse. It'll be the main opening arena in the match. But I think the problem with the Grunfeld is that, I'm not saying this is a bad opening, it's so complicated that I think for white it's quite easy to find, and a lot of the lines are quite forcing, it's easy to find a situation where it's just so complicated and that a new move, a new idea can tip black over the edge. So I think Nepo will be playing a more solid opening against d4, for example, and probably more solid just generally against e4 or whatever. So I doubt whether we'll be seeing the Grunfeld, but yeah, commentator's curse. Who knows? It makes me think of the World Championship match in 2000, Kramnik against Kasparov. Game 2, I'm sure you remember it. I was there. I was commentating in London, and Kramnik found a new idea against Kasparov's Grunfeld and just outplayed Kasparov completely, and that was game 2, and we didn't see the Grunfeld again in that match. Kasparov switched to the Queen's Gambit accepted, he switched to the Nimzo. Not entirely satisfactory satisfactorily. So I don't think we'll be seeing the Grunfeld, and I think we're going to be seeing more solid openings. So there you go. I'm going to give one more game in this Carlsen-Nepo series before the match starts, so look out for that. And just a word again about the ChessBase discount day today, which is the 16th of November, 25% off all products, including my PowerPlay DVD download series. Do check it out. Thanks for watching.